We're live.
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Good to be back.
Yep.
It's good to be back.
Another week.
Another weekend.
Thank God it's Friday.
It's Friday.
Let's see. How's the sound? I have to do that
check.
Sound check.
Yes.
There we go.
Sounds good.
All right. Let me make sure we are muted on here.
I hope everyone has had a wonderful week. Well, happy new month of August. I can't believe very soon we're going to be saying like Merry Christmas.
Very soon, yeah.
I'm
about to get into the Ember months.
I cannot believe it. That we're very soon we're going to be saying Merry Christmas.
Yeah, about to get into Ember months.
We just started 2023.
Yeah, it feels like that, but it's time flies when you're having fun.
Time absolutely flies when you're getting older.
Yeah. Well, usual weekly disclaimer in case you hear
any noise around. Just know
voices.
that this is work-life balance. We're working while the children are
things we do for you guys. We want to continue serving you, so we are jeopardizing the safety.
The safety of the kids. No, we're not. They are very safe. The kids are very safe.
Just they might be running in and knocking on doors and banging. So in case I need to dash to the door.
Don't worry, I got you.
That's what's happening. So I hope everyone had a good week.
Let's know in the chat how your week has been. I hope your week has been wonderful. I hope the entrance into the new month has been great.
Yeah. Happy New Month.
Happy New Month, everyone. Super excited to be here. And I also hope you're telling everyone about the 6-Figure Tech Career Secrets Group. I hope you are spreading this good news. I hope you're spreading the message.
The gospel, yeah.
We don't want to be the best kept secret.
No,
absolutely not.
We want to be we
it's
need you to post us on your Instagram.
Tell people about the group,
about us, screenshot our faces and tell them about this amazing couple trying to do great things in the community.
Just trying to do
highly intelligent woman, smart wife,
you are so kind.
Dragging the husband along to the show. I'm glad to be here. Just painting like that, But share the word, share the word, spread the word. We have 3 daughters. We need all of you to contribute.
Yes.
To us also raising our kids by showing up for us.
Hello, Scrum Master Nation. Happy Friday. I know. Oh yes, you're back to work. School is back in session around here, and super glad to read that you're hitting the ground running and still doing all your coursework. That is someone who is committed. And eyes on the goal. So, and you always know we're here to support in any way that we can. So, that's. Kudos to you for even tuning in as well. So if you have any questions at all, put it in the chat, okay? Let's get this show going.
NSTAR Achiever. That's how we define
NSTAR Achiever. We should make NSTAR Achiever of the week, of the month. What do you think?
Yeah, we should.
Tanisha might be our NSTAR Achiever, right?
So it starts with your participating in the community.
Yeah, we're going to NSTAR Achiever of the month. And put you out there, put you on blast. And she got her Cisco certification as well.
Get that.
I mean, she
That's incredible. That's incredible. That is awesome.
Kudos to you, Mama.
That's awesome.
Alrighty.
All right. So last week we started talking about challenges people face when transitioning into tech. Yes. We looked at a bunch of things. So today we'll be continuing along the same lines, and we'll be wrapping up that conversation. Some of the challenges that people go through that we've seen. Some, we try to kind of explain our own perspective on how we've dealt with these challenges and things you potentially could see. And if you have any questions, please, the chat. We want to see your questions. Let's be engaged throughout the conversation.
Yeah.
So let's jump right in.
Absolutely. So like we said, the conversation is all about like the challenges that we would face or anyone would face trying to get into tech, especially if you come from a non-technical background or you're a person of color or just have any of these biases going on, right? One of them is absolutely age and experience barrier. I mean, experience barrier is you should know that already. Experience is a barrier. Experience is a barrier, I want to talk about age, unconsciously sometimes there's this, some people call unconscious bias where people assume that the older someone is, they might not be able to perform in a role, right? Ageism, right? So older individuals, right, sometimes they face challenges trying to convince employers that they are suitable for that role. Because if you look at it, right, young people are graduating every day, teenagers are knowing how to code and knowing how to do all of this great stuff. Like at least we have an intern who has done fantastic for himself and gotten certified, right? So yes, age can be a barrier, but I don't think age should be the reason why you don't still apply for that role. I've had all manner of older people come through our courses and our classes, right? And to me, I always say kudos to them, because for you to want to change your life at a later stage, it's, to me, I think that is being actually agile in your way of working. So for anyone who's probably up there in age and thinks that, well, am I going to get a job? How am I going to speak to someone who's probably like 20 years younger than me? I'll say, as long as you're very confident in the experience that you bring, because the experience that you have is actually the experience of life that those people perhaps don't even have at all. So you have to be able to sell what you bring to the table, plus, of course, that experience. And then the part about experience can also be a barrier is, I mean, it's simple to say, but you have to know where you're going to, you have to know where you're at, and you have to know what the difference is. And you have to ask yourself, how can I close the gap? That is as simple as that, but there's more to it, right? So if experience is a barrier, then you have to ask yourself, how then can I build this experience? How then can I have this experience? How can I be creative with this experience? It doesn't matter what work you're doing. Like I always say, that people get so caught up in trying to apply for jobs with the title. Look at the role and responsibility. Most times you've already started doing this responsibility at your work with a different title, because companies are different. Structure of companies are different, right? Titles are different. So age and experience barrier is a legitimate kind of challenge that people face, but there's always a way to work around it.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you're speaking to the experienced one from even your area of expertise point of view, right? I think people might be concerned about, say, okay, if you're a network engineer, for example, there's nothing you're doing before that is, that's directly, that directly translates. However, we discount life experience and what it brings, how it helps you, because now a lot of younger people might not understand how they learn, how they understand, how they, you understand yourself, you know how to learn, how to solve problems, how to figure things out quickly. You understand how you operate in those realms. That's what I said something last week. When it comes to experience, it's almost like for tech, it's like your flight hours, right? Not necessarily the length of time you've been doing it.
Right.
So your objective, your goal as you're trying to bridge the experience barrier is putting time in the lab. So once you identify the area of the aspect of tech you want to get into, you're coming in with no work experience,
right?
But you have to get experience through practice. You have to build your flight hours. Because again, in most technical interviews, they're not necessarily looking for how long you've done it. They are looking for proficiency. They're going to give you, they're not going to ask you how many times have you solved a particular problem. They will give you a case study and how you go around or how you go about, identifying root cause, when, how you explain your process is what will give away your experience, not what you have on your resume. And so that's what you should be working on while you're preparing, right? And then for age, related concerns, right? You can think about it like this. Most applications, especially here in the US, it's optional to identify your age. That's one, right? And so you don't have to specify your age during applications. Initial conversations are going to be over the phone, right? As long as you're not telling on your age, nobody has to know. The reason why a lot of times it feels like this is a challenge, it's almost self-imposed more than it is an actual issue, because there's laws against this thing, discriminating against,
I feel like
based on
my phone.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Right. So there's laws against ageism and discriminating based on age. And so it's a lot of times we just feel like, oh, I'm at this age. And so people say these things all the time where they go, I'm this old, and so me and tech, I'm not very. They make it look like because they're older, there's a difficulty with adapting to the technology.
Yes.
Right. And that is not the case. Like you were alluding to, we've had so many students, we've had so many people come through our doors who are older, who are old enough to be our parents, who have taken our programs and gone on to be successful. Like you can't count the number of people like that who we've worked with, and it hasn't been an issue. The important thing is, can you make out time to put in the work and do the work required to be successful? That's exactly what to do. So that's how you get over the age and lack of experience challenge. All right. So next challenge that we didn't talk about last week is the highly competitive market. I'm pretty sure you and some other person, everybody has people they know who believe, who wants to get into tech. Just like most trends, everybody jumps on
and trying to get into
and just jumps in, even without understanding what it's about, right? And that has made the marketplace saturated.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we always tell our students is there's a lot of people that have database administrator resumes or Scrum Master resumes, and that's fine, but that doesn't make them experts or any of those things. If you're good at the technology, you will stand out in the market, right? A good resume will only get you as far as getting your phone to ring. When your phone rings, it's you from that point.
Yeah.
It's what you say, it's how you handle the conversation with the recruiters, right? And your interviews, your resume is not going to get you a job. It's how you navigate scenarios and case studies, how you present yourself, right? And so, yes, the market might be competitive. Yes, every other person you meet might be considering getting into tech and getting into Scrum and all of that, right? But that shouldn't be a concern to you. Because I promise you, there is, as much as there are people who are going in drones every day, there's also job opportunities opening up in their hundreds of thousands and millions by the day, right? Like, it's so saturated. Companies are hiring international talent, right, to make up for the deficit. Every company pretty much has an offshore team managing support and after-hours stuff. And so that's showing you the availability of opportunities, like, to go around. And so it's important, don't let the crowd and the movement make you feel like when there's too many people going this route. Focus on distinguishing yourself by being good at the technology of your choice, the career path you choose. Just make sure you understand it. You don't just learn it so you can go get a job. Know it to where you become a master, right? Seek to gain mastery in your field. And even if everybody's going there, you'll still stand out and you always have opportunities.
Yeah, so when people ask me, oh, well, am I going to get a job because so many people want to become Scrum Masters now?
Yeah.
I'm going to share something that I typically would share, with my students, right? Yes, there is a demand for Scrum Masters, but that should also give you the insight as to why there's a demand. It means that there is a value that Scrum Masters or Agile practitioners bring to the table.
Yeah.
Companies are realizing the power of agility. I'm just talking about Scrum, even the same for database administration, the power of data analysis and all of that good stuff, right? Now, instead of trying to figure out, well, will I get the job? The question is, how can you stand out? And I don't know why people don't focus on how can I stand out, right? How can I ensure that I understand exactly what it means to be an Agile practitioner? How can I ensure that I communicate my value? And honestly, that is the missing gap, because people try to always glue things together and then you struggle, right?
Yeah.
So why not put yourself through a program where all of this blueprint has been put together to literally guide you from the beginning to the end? And so even, the market is competitive. Tech right now, is competitive. People are trying to move from one place to another place because of the benefits, right, of tech, the flexibility, the finances, the fact that it's always going to be high in demand. The question though is, are you committed to the process? Because people want the short and a quick thing. It can't just be quick and short. Are you committed to getting the job, and are you committed to building yourself a career in tech?
Yeah.
But because the competition will always be there. Even when you get into the job, the competition will always be there. And yes, like, we're going to tell you the truth. Yes, there are layoffs, right? Absolutely, yes, there are layoffs, right? But then the question is, how can you also sustain yourself as a person of value? How can you ensure that you're on top of what exactly is going on, right? So the competition is right there. It's a high competitive job market, absolutely. But the question though is, as a career professional, how can I ensure that I'm a person of value, that I'm definitely bringing value to the table? And I think that's a question everybody should be, be talking about, instead of looking at the demand out there. The question is, how can I stay competitive in this landscape, basically, right? So that's my 2 cents to that.
Yep, and that's key. It's another thing I wanted to mention along this topics. And don't mind us starting up and running around again. We have
work-life balance.
Work-life balance. That's exactly what's going on. With work-life balance.
Children, let us know.
Yeah, we'll have something to donate. So another thing where this comes in, is when you're starting.
Yeah.
A lot of times people go based on the trend, and they don't take time to actually investigate and figure out what's the best path for me in tech,
Right.
right? People only think about the money and the people they know that have done what. How many times, how often do we get the question, I want to do this, or which one should I do?
Yeah.
And people are not taking time to do the research and understand what exactly it takes to be a database administrator, or not even what it takes, what it means to be a database administrator, what it means to be a scrum master, what it means to be a network engineer, what it means to be a cloud architect. They just want to do AWS. What does it mean to be a security analyst? People say, I want to do cybersecurity, but ask them the role that you're going to get, and they can't speak to that, right? And so it starts with there's so many, there are saturated fields, and then there are areas in tech we don't even know about.
That's true. And that's one thing we're going to be covering during our tech chat, is bringing professionals who are in other spaces, come and share their story on how they got into tech. So stay tuned. If you're not following us on the Facebook group, I think you should
join the Facebook group. I don't know if you're not on Facebook, join the Facebook group, please. What are you doing? All right. So that's thank you for putting the Facebook group. You're the best. You guys are amazing. NSTAR Achievers for real. All right. So that's the competitive markets concern and how to deal with it. I think we talked about learning curve last week. The next challenge people face is the career progression uncertainty, right? It's, if I become a scrum master, what's next for me?
I've heard that so many times.
And that's a valid concern. What's my career path going into this space as a database administrator? Where next do I go when I start? What's the growth path for me? And that is a question you need to be asking, tech or no tech, right? You need to be asking this question. What's the next place? The people who worry about this a lot, and I want to throw shade, but I'm going to behave myself because I'm a Christian. I'm a child of God. But it's people go into these FAD programs that are just learn a tool, get a job, do a task, and get make some money, and then you're out. And then you spend 1 month working, and then you spend 3 months on the bench, right? When there are valid career paths. There's a reason why it's called career paths. There are core areas. So things like every organization will need leadership. So irrespective of their department. So there will be need for coordination, leadership, building teams. If you think of, that shows you the value of scrum masters and then the paths for you, right? The businesses will always travel on data. Servers will never go out of style, because no matter what we're doing, this computer box has to be there. AI, no AI, you're not going to do it through, it's not going to show up on the cloud and you start clicking. So these are things that they will always be there, right? Cybersecurity, the threat of hacking and all of these things are always going to be there. These are career paths, not just technical skills. They're not just tools, right? They are paths. And so for every one of these valid paths, you can literally study people who are in the space, begin to network, begin to ask questions. I've had conversations with total strangers on LinkedIn who will reach out to me and ask questions like, hey, I'm considering this thing and this thing, and what do you think about it? I'm weighing my options. And you respond to them, but that's what's the right thing to do. Oh, okay, what's next for me, right? Where do you see these things going? You see somebody who has gone their LinkedIn profile, who have been doing this thing for 20 years. What has the path been? How did they get there? And then where are they looking to go? Those are valid ways to figure out. But if you're worrying about what's the career path for me, there's a lot of things that go into your career path. The company you start with
Very important.
has a role to play in how your career goes, right? So it's, if you work for a smaller company, startup company that so you're hired as a senior engineer, but the next person that you're reporting to the CEO, so you're going to probably not have too much of a path, right? Versus going to a bigger company that has a whole structure in place.
For promotion.
Everything set up for promotion, for all of those things. So that affects how you grow within the company. And so you also have to look at for yourself, and you need to learn, okay, how can the skills I acquire, which other areas can this be applied to? Some people start as project managers and end up becoming directors and go into leadership. Some people start as database administrators and data analysts and different skills, and they transition into scrum masters and project managers, and then they go from there into VP of something, right? It's all about taking what you do and then seeing where it's going to take you next. What you want now is going to change tomorrow for your career, right? Some people start off and they like the technical stuff. They like they're hands-on. I'm not going to say it. They're hands-on. They want, they like the coding and all of that. And at some point, they realize, hey, I think I want to do more leadership. I want to lead teams. I want to be in the strategy side. And so now instead of going from, instead of going on the path of being a senior DB and a senior database engineer and staying on that software architect, I can go from there to more, go to manager, go to architect, go to strategy, start pursuing director roles. So a lot has to do with, one, the company where you work and your own personal goals, which I promise you will evolve. And this one last thing before I hand over to you. Also realize you have to be open-minded when it comes to tech. Don't be married to a company. And I say this with a pinch of salt, right? Your next step might be outside. So don't say because it's a small company now and there's no part of I won't take a job here. No, take the job and gain the experience, because working for a smaller company and wearing multiple hats while holding one title is going to serve you when you leave that company and go somewhere else and step up to a higher role. You would have acquired a lot of skills that will help you step into that role. Even though you didn't get the title, you've developed a lot of skills.
Yeah. Final point to this, I think I know most times we're always stuck on our title and the job we do day in, day out, because think about it, like you have 8 hours in a day. Suppose start that day really early, end really late, and it gets so you're like heads down, right? Burrowed in. And sometimes it's hard for you to really look up and see what is going on. I'm really challenging every career professional watching everywhere, Facebook or Instagram, to take a moment, just even if it's 1 hour per week, block out your calendar and ask yourself questions like, where do I see myself moving on from here? What are the skills that I've acquired? Right? What other titles are out there? Most people are always, don't be stuck on the title. Like if you're in my Scrum Master class, you already know what I say about titles, roles, and responsibility. Think about the skills that you're acquiring and how they can be used literally everywhere, right? You have to be so like literally forward thinking and be very intentional about your career growth. And I think that's something I wanted to just add to that whole career progression. And you're right, like most Scrum Masters would say, after this, what's next? After being a DBA, like what's next? There's so much of what's next, but you have to either literally work with someone to guide you through that, or just be intentional about where you want to go to, basically. So
that's awesome. A quick shout out. There's Sandra said something. I can guarantee you in the USA, nobody does database administration better than us. We have the best track record. So, but we have, since you're in the group already, check out on the guides. We have some free resources that you can actually watch and gain some experience that breaks down database administration. But also I'll have one of my people DM you so you can book a call with us and we can continue. All right. Next,
bias and discrimination. So they're just joining. Hi everyone. We're talking about challenges that people face when they're going into tech, especially from non-technical background or just different things. And one of them for sure is biases and discrimination. Most people face this, especially when it comes to either gender or educational background or age. But the same thing you said regarding age, though, is that you're not obligated, right? You're not obligated to put it in. Specify. Like you literally have the non-applicable if you want to, because but the funny thing is that we're such in a dispensation where companies want to be diverse, although they want to be diverse, and I don't think a lot of companies understand what diversity means, but that's by the side. But people face that bias and discrimination. And personally for me though, I don't look into that. I don't let that be something that stops me from applying for any role. Absolutely not. I say, regardless of it, like my value and the work that I do, the work that I've done, my track record, my references speak enough, and should speak louder than how I look. And so again, for me, it's literally about breaking down the ceilings and not being afraid to put your hand up and taking stretch assignment, doing things that are way beyond your comfort zone, right? So that's the way where you literally edge your name in the sands of time. But people do face biases and discrimination. But I'm curious if anyone who's applying for a job right now think that you faced bias, you've been biased, or you've been discriminated. Put in the chat. Let's talk about it. And I saw someone's post one time about how, I think she was a Chinese lady or an Asian lady. She used the AI to make herself look more professional, and the AI turned her into a Caucasian lady, a white lady. So I don't know what's going on with that. But
that's extreme. our uniqueness is our strengths, right? Think of, okay, before, are you going to change your name? Are you going to change? Because during the application, my names are Chukwemeka Nnamdi. So there is no, like, that's the name that my parents gave me, right? Chukwemeka is long to say. People struggle, and it's always fun, right? So you can, so it's easy
an icebreaker, though.
That's it. That's what I use it
You always
for.
have an icebreaker,
right? So it's you can't hide from who you are, right? But one thing that always trumps discrimination is excellence, right? It's excellence. Now, prior to you getting a chance to prove yourself, like when you apply for jobs and trying to get into the space, we have to embrace this fact. You might need to do a little more to get yourself the opportunity, right? So my story, and I've shared this a lot, right? As starting off immigrants with, student visa status F1, I was rejected even for things that were like, I went for a convention and I was a preferred candidate, called for an interview. In the middle of the interview, the interview was stopped when they realized I wasn't a citizen, right? What bigger heartbreak can you experience? I faced so much rejection because of my immigration status there. But that's something you don't control. Like, you don't control what you don't control. You didn't choose to be a woman. You didn't choose to be born in minority ethnic groups. You didn't choose any of those things. But the thing I can control is my efforts. The thing I can control is, increasing in wisdom, is showing up and being the best. That I can control certain things. I'll focus on those things and I'll give my best efforts, right? Was I disappointed every time I was rejected because of my status then? Sure, it hurt my feeling bad, because every opportunity I missed was like I was about to be kicked out of the country and all of those things. So the consequences were weighing on me. But I didn't have the window to wail over it. You get disappointed, you get back again, and you continue applying, right? And the beautiful thing about tech is this is a very diverse space. If you go into most of like database administration, I've had more Asian and Indian colleagues, so it's immigrants like myself. You see most tech roles, very diverse, right? So I wouldn't worry too much about, diversity being a challenge or discrimination being a challenge, because the playing field is almost level. But again, I wouldn't even worry about discrimination based on things you don't control, right? You didn't choose where you were born, the names you were given, all of those things, you didn't choose them. But the things that I choose for myself, you're not going to beat me at those things, right? You will never be able to reject me based on the things that I have control over, because I'm going to do my best, I'm going to do what I do, and I'm going to compete with your best, right? And do better than them. That's the mindset I approach work, everything with. And it's paid off. So don't worry about all the things that you don't have based on things you don't control, and just focus on the things you can control and do your best there.
Absolutely. I think I have a post that talks about your diversity is your asset.
Yep.
It all goes down to perception, though. Sometimes you might see yourself like, oh, I came from this space, and that means I am below, But however, you're bringing an experience that nobody has ever experienced before. And so to me, I think it's all about perception. And perception is very, very important. That's why even with our coaching, mindset plays a very big part to it. So I'm reading a comment on Facebook. It says, I think with the striking down of affirmative action, many minorities will have to work harder than we already do, unfortunately. But I'm a firm believer that what is for you, and God will open that door for you. Absolutely. I agree to that for sure. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing that. It's not given, it will have to be taken.
It will have to be taken.
Yeah, if you're good at just become good enough to stand up for.
So you see why it hurts me. This is very personal to me. When people don't raise up their hands when there are opportunities. When they say who wants to lead something.
And you shy away.
And you don't raise up your hand. If I know you and I'm in that space, I will come physically and put your hand up, because you've got to set up yourself for success. It's not about burning yourself out, not at all. but literally you writing out the description of how you want your career to go. You have to be so intentional about it. So that is my last chart. Sorry for being very
no, but
balanced.
that's important, right? You can't, you're doing not just yourself with the service, but everybody coming after you,
yeah.
right? When you try to fly under the radar or just do the bare minimum,
no,
you're not representing everybody who looks like you, everybody who has their name sound like you. You're not doing them a service. You're doing us a disservice, right? By trying to play small. Let's embrace doing hard things, right? Things that tasks that people want to run away from. Let's embrace being the one to say, you know what, I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to do it.
And I know not everybody has a school of thought, but that's okay. But this is our school of thought.
Yeah, that's what we believe. That's our own. That's how we roll.
Absolutely.
All right. Next one is well, I think that's the last one. Yes. The last point is networking. People feel like it's a challenge networking within the tech industry, making connections, finding mentors. You know, the mindset it's challenging, you know, with everybody being so busy and
everybody wants to come to tech.
Everybody wants to get into tech. Like, who do you connect with? You know, who do you speak to? And that's a challenge that's it's valid. But again, I think I had a statement, I had a quote. It says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I promise, how you move, it's going to attract the right people to you. How you move, how you position yourself. When you start having conversation, start by saying, telling everybody, I'm looking to make a move into tech. It can't just be an idea in your head. Start from there and be bold, declare it, right? Join our 6-figure tech career secrets group, right? That's how it begins. Start making intentional connections. You identify a career path, and then you feel like you want to explore. Get on LinkedIn and start reaching out to people. You're not going to be banned for sending connection requests and asking genuine questions, as long as you're not being spammy and annoying. You're going to be fine. Somebody will respond to you. People will respond back. A lot of people, you're going to be so surprised how many people have the same story or similar stories to you. Absolutely. And you're going to make strong connections that way. All right, so don't be afraid to reach out and say, hey, I'm new in the city, I'm looking to get into tech, and I see you're already doing this, and so I just wanted to connect. Start from there. Find the groups. Again, thank God for social media and Facebook groups and all of these virtual connect locations. Be intentional about connecting. Find local meetups in the area where you want to meet more people, right? It's not going to happen when you're sitting in your familiar circle with nobody who is doing what you're trying to do. Networking is not going to happen there, right? So you have to be intentional. You have to get into communities, right? Connect with other people. Be bold in declaring to people that, hey, you know what, I'm interested in this field. I want to learn more. And you're going to be surprised the amount of resources you have around you that you didn't know were there the whole time. Until you spoke up. There's been a lot of people that they wanted to do certain things and they never said anything. And then somebody goes, hey, you know, he does that. Like, oh, wow, that's been a dream of mine. In fact, I've done this and I've done that, I've done that. I've been here the whole time, I could have helped. And it's happened the other way to where it was me who never spoke up about certain things. And then the moment I mentioned that's an interest, like, are you serious? That's an interest of mine too. Literally one of my, okay, let me leave that story part. But it's literally, you have to speak up, or you never know who is around, right? Be intentional about making these connections. And I promise you, there are people who are willing to share information. Human beings are good naturally. Don't believe all of the negative news out there. People want to share. People want to connect. People want to be a blessing. And so speak up, and you're not alone.
You're not alone, you know. And just like information as well, you can absorb a lot of information, but if you don't use that information, it's almost like a waste.
Yeah.
So you can be surrounded with great network people, you know, but still don't know how to utilize or the kind of questions to ask. So I think it just even boils down to intentionality again and again and again, is where am I trying to go to so I don't get distracted? Because if you get into a whole, you know, well of people who are in tech, and maybe your initial idea was to become, I don't know, data analyst, and then you hear about cybersecurity, and then you hear about prompt engineering, then you hear about something, and then all of a sudden you get so overwhelmed and so confusing, then that is it's almost like your networking is working against you, right? So it's about figuring exactly, okay, who do I know that's already in the space of where I'm trying to get to, or who knows someone that knows someone. And yes, plus one to LinkedIn, reaching out to people on LinkedIn. Sometimes you might not get any response, and that's okay. But there are so many ways to network, honestly. There's so many ways to network. One way that I'm going to challenge everyone who's probably trying to network here will be engage with people's posts, right? Something stands talk about it, put your comments, rephrase, share, things like that, right? In that way, you're also giving the inference that you're interested in this topic or in this subject matter. So I mean, we can talk about networking in a whole different video, if that helps, about how to network. Because I know people sometimes are nervous, like, what do I say? How do I say it? And, so if anyone needs any help with networking, just let us know. If that's a topic you're interested in, we could cover that some other time. But yeah, networking is literally both ways as well, right? Is you're reaching out to people, but don't expect them to just come and be like, yes. Ask yourself, how can I also add value to this person? How can I get this person's attention without being overwhelming or without being a spam? How can I give value if I'm in the community? How can I give value? How can I reach out to this person and say, hey, is there any help that you need? I see you're doing this. Do you need any support? Like, nobody will ever ask. Like, always want to ask, what can I receive? What can I receive? What can I receive? Right. So networking in tech is a really great way for you to build connections for sure, and find mentors or sponsors or just people who will mention your name when you're not there, right? Especially for those who are trying to get into tech, it can be challenging, right? Because your primary contacts are not people in tech. There are people probably in the industry that you're coming from, right? So you might want to shake that up a little bit. So I think that is that's kind of like what I think.
That's just it. It's intentionality is key. And I'll just say, as we wrap up this week's conversation, there's a boundless list of opportunities and fields when it comes to tech. Right. And every one of them is lucrative and will pay you well. You have to pick one and focus. Like, it's so important. Don't move from data analysis to database administration to cybersecurity. Like, you can't, if you don't stay with one and do your best and get to it's not going to work. You end up bouncing around and then wake up one and decide this tech thing is not for me. So it's important I just wanted to mention that because of something you said.
And I think in one of our earlier videos talked about how to identify the tech space you want to get into, because we know it can be with a lot of choices. It can be which one do I choose. So I believe it's in our Facebook group. So that's something you can watch. I think either our first or second video, I can't remember, like which one works best for me. And I believe we're working on something to also help people identify, based on certain parameters, perhaps what tech profession or career path works best for who you are and certain things that you have. So if that's something that you're interested in, keep an eye out for. We're working on that, and I'm just putting him on the spot because we're working on it.
Yes, we are. We are working on it. All right, thank you guys for hanging with us on Stella's Instagram, on the Facebook group. Thank you so much. We respect and appreciate your time.
I hope this has been helpful. Thanks everyone for joining. Don't forget, the link to the Facebook group is in my bio, or you can send me a DM to join. We're meeting like literally every Friday by 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We come here and share and talk about different topics that are sent in by you, or what we believe will be super helpful for those who are, in a space trying to get into tech, or perhaps already in tech and trying to, maximize their career. So what's happening next week Friday?
Yeah, so I wanted to clear that. So we're going to be taking a new approach starting this month. And so it won't be both of us every week. So the first week of every month, the first Friday, going to get both of us like this, talking. And eventually, if you're local in Atlanta, you'll actually be able to come and join us in person at the office. We're working on some nice things. I'm working on a lot of things, right? So we're trying to serve you guys the best we can. Now, week 2 is going to be a Scrum Master webinar.
Next week.
It's still going to be streamed here, but we encourage you to register so that you can be in the room and ask questions and engage.
Only those register.
Yeah, so if you register, you'll be able to ask questions, because then we won't be able to, during the webinar, you won't be looking at the chat and all of those things. You'll be on through the webinar platform. So we might be streaming to the Facebook group. However, it just makes sense to be in the room. So make sure you register. Our team will put out the registration link. So next week,
onto my bio,
and in your bio so if you're interested in the career in Scrum, you have leadership skills, you're a team person, you like working in a team, you're very comfortable communicating, all of that good stuff, then
every second
Friday is your day. We'll be talking specific things about Scrum. So make sure you join Stella. On the third Fridays, we're going to have an expert guest. It's going to be streamed like this as well, same time. And we'll be picking professionals from different fields in tech to come share. So we're experts in our own fields, but there's, again, bigger than what we are, it's bigger than both of us. And so we want to bring in other minds, to come share with you their experiences and their expertise. And then on the fourth Friday, you get the database administration webinar. So people interested in that career path, you come join me and we'll be sharing all things database administration. We'll be talking about specific topics, taking questions and answers, all of that good stuff. If there's a fifth Friday, you get us double dose.
You do?
Yeah, wow. You get us again. You get us again. Wow. I just made it up on the spot.
Wow.
Innovative, thinking on your feet. It's a tech skill.
That.
Problem solving. All right. So if that happens, you get us again, and then you get us again the next week. So that's how we're going to be operating going forward. So please stay connected to the community and how we're working on different things to keep serving you guys. Like we said at the beginning, we don't want to be your best kept secrets.
Please tell people
about us. Tell a friend to tell a friend. God bless you. Enjoy your weekend.